Now check this out. Nearly 95% of Georgia's citizens have registered to vote. A round of applause, please, for Stacey Abrams and organizations like Black Voters Matter, the New Georgia Project, Pro-Georgia, and the Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda. Now, Georgia's voter registration numbers changed the balance of power in the government we have now. And meanwhile, down in Texas, voting rights suffered a significant blow yesterday when 3 Houston Democrats decided to appear on the House floor for the first time since July. It's Representatives Ana Hernandez, Armando Walle, and Garnet Coleman. They returned to the House just days after the Texas Supreme Court ruled that Democrats who fled to Washington could be arrested. Well, joining us are 2 Texas Democrats who did not cave, Representative Jasmine Crockett and Reynolds. So how are you both feeling about the 3 colleagues who left, and why is that feeling salty? Let's start with you, Ms. Crockett.
I think you just summed it up when you just said that we're salty. You know, I'm glad that I can even smile. And first of all, thanks for having us back. Because yesterday I was seeing nothing but red. I was quite perturbed because not only was it that, you know, Democratic colleagues caved, but it was also our Harris County Democrats. And the significance of that is that this voting bill specifically attacked Harris County. So to have 3 of their own be the ones that give it back, and we're talking about 3 members that come from minority districts that are safe Democratic seats, be the ones to decide to go and just roll over for the Republicans. To say I was disappointed is putting it lightly.
Ron, what do you think happened? What calculus were they making?
You know, I share the frustration with Representative Crockett. It's hard to get in their mind because there's no justification. There's nothing that's plausible that makes sense. They weren't advocating for their constituents. They weren't doing anything that would help minorities in a minority district that they represent. So it blows my mind what they were thinking and why they would have went back to break quorum when we had so much momentum. We were on the right side. We were close to the finish line, not quite there yet, but we were almost there, and they stole and took away that momentum. And so for me, it's hard to understand and articulate. They're going to have to account for that. They're going to have to answer to their constituents, not to me, not to Jasmine, but to their constituents, because their constituents are the ones that are going to suffer unless we get federal legislation passed because of these voter suppression bills.
Well, you 2 have not been in Texas for nearly 2 months, and now you're there, I suspect, to check in with family and take care of orders of business in life. Have you accepted this reality that these laws are now going to be on the books? Ms. Crockett, you first.
Absolutely not. I'm still keeping hope alive, and I'm still in this fight. My constituents want me to fight. They are continually cheering me on. So a number of us will be back in D.C. because Congress is coming back, and we look forward to hopefully the passage of the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. We are counting on them to get it done on the House side. The Senate side is where we will potentially run into some roadblocks, but I'll be honest with you, the very first time we broke quorum and went to D.C., we were told by Republicans that there is bipartisan support for that. Now, mind you, that was before the bill was ever written up, but that is what we were told, even by one of our own senators in Texas. So I hope that this holds true, because we've not had anything to replace the 1965 Voting Rights Act since it was gutted in 2013. And this is our very first opportunity to get back to business in this country and make sure that states like Texas have the oversight that is required, because they don't know how to do anything other than be intentionally discriminatory.
Mr. Reynolds, you are also part of this group that is holding out. What does Monday bring for you?
Monday brings to me a new day to continue fighting. We're going to be with members of the U.S. House of Representatives under Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and we're going to put the final touches on the bill where it's likely to pass on next Tuesday. And then, like Representative Crockett said, we're going to stay in D.C. We're going to be there for the March on Washington on Saturday, the 28th, to build momentum as the U.S. House comes back after recess, right after Labor Day, and where our fight will finish. We want to finish what we started. The battle is not over. We have strong faith, a strong conviction, a strong resolve. And I believe that we're on the right side of history and we are going to be victorious. We are winners. We're not quitters. And we're very disappointed that some of our colleagues have chosen a different path. But our faith is strong and our resolve has never been stronger. So mark my words, you heard it here first, that we will finish this and we will get this bill to President Biden's desk, and this bill will become law, and we will have carried the baton from Congressman John Lewis, Martin Luther King, and many others like Fannie Lou Hamer, who made good trouble and fought the good fight. We stand on their shoulders, and we will not let them down on our watch.
Representative Crockett, what does this tell you, though, what you've seen happen at the local level? What lessons are you bringing now back to Washington about coalition building, right? About how you can even trust some of your own people to hold the line? How is that going to translate now to your federal advocacy?
Man, it's interesting that you asked me that specific question, because I've been struggling. You know, with me being a freshman, I'm not used to a certain environment, right? I walked in saying, hey, we're all on the same team. We're all fighting for the same thing, and we will get this stuff done. You know, what I noticed this entire session is you never saw one Republican peel off, even if it made sense. Even when we were talking about things like permitless carry, when it came down to saying that white supremacists couldn't have guns in the state of Texas, they decided that, no, we're not going to vote against that. No one had the moral courage from that party to stand up. The difference in our party is, heck, when we left, there were 10 people that wouldn't leave with us. And then we had other people peeling back. And so it's frustrating, because you think, I walk in, I know that I've got to fight the Republicans, but daggone it, I got to fight my own party too. Like, how are we ever going to get anywhere? But it makes me better understand why Democrats are continually losing, because we've got to stand together. If we don't, we know what happens. This is what happens. We lose. United we stand, divided we fall. And so I am hoping that those on the federal level see what's going on, and they say we've got to be better than what we see some of our colleagues are doing on the state level. We've got to get this done for them. I hope that they feel the sense of urgency that exists right now, especially after hearing our racist lieutenant governor tell y'all how he feels about black folk and COVID. He blamed the COVID spread in Texas on black people.
Right, not blaming it on the fact that there's no mask mandates or really any recommendations to get vaccinated, but because you're black. Representative Reynolds, you and Representative Crockett really helped all of us understand the arcane rules of quorum and how state politics is its own thing, right? All politics is local. So, since we just talked about what it means to try to get along as a party, what do you plan to tell, say, Senators Manchin and Senator Sinema about what they need to do with the filibuster?
I plan to tell them that Democrats worked their ass off to give you a majority so that you could be in a position to pass federal legislation, to pass the legislation that helped get you in the majority. If these bills were there in place before this last election, guess what? The Republicans would have maintained power. So this is a opportunity for Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema to pass federal legislation to solidify the federal right to vote that we hold near and dear, that is the bedrock of our democracy. And so we're asking them to utilize the majority. President Biden, there's no guarantee that he'll get a second term. Speaker Pelosi, there's no guarantee that she'll be Speaker of the House in the next term after the midterms. And there's no guarantee that the Democrats will maintain the majority in the Senate. In fact, tradition holds that the party in power loses seats. And with such a close margin, if they don't get this bill passed, mark my words that they will lose. And so there will be regret and there will be second guessing. So we know what the script will look like if they don't pass this. So we know that you got to strike while the iron is hot. You got to govern while you have the gavel. And we need for them to finish what they started. There is no excuse for them not to pass it. Too many lives are at stake. Too many people who would be disenfranchised, black and brown folks all across this country, the people who are most vulnerable would stand to lose if they don't pass this federal legislation. So we need them to act now. If they don't, Republicans are going to roll back the clock, roll back those protections that we hold near and dear, and we will be in a dark day in this country where voter suppression, Jim Crow 2.0 laws are the lay of the land, and Republicans will make it so difficult for anybody else to represent, especially in a majority minority country. It will be dominated by white men, and that will be a tragedy.
Listen, that's what the census is telling us. 2040, it's a majority minority country, and as of right now, the white population is declining. So call that what you will. Some people like to call it economic anxiety, but Representative Crockett and Representative Reynolds, you have brought the fire from Texas to D.C., and I hope you light it up here on voting rights next week. I look forward to seeing what you do. Thank you. And next up, Jeopardy has a chance to correct a wrong. You're watching Prime on BNC.